Good morning. I hope you have your essentials and you're ready to dive into another devotional on this Holy Wednesday. Holy Wednesday is an interesting day in the Holy Week calendar. It's the last day before things really start to pick up steam. The Pharisees have been spending Monday, Tuesday, and they're going to spend all of Wednesday trying to find a way to discredit and ultimately kill Jesus. That's their goal. That's their stated goal now. And ultimately, we know that they're going to succeed at their goal. So what happens on Wednesday is there's a lot of still conversations between Jesus, a lot of conflict between him and the Pharisees. But it's what happens in the home of a man named Simon that I want to focus on this morning. And it's a story found in Mark. It's actually found in 3 of the Gospels. There's another account in John that's a little bit different. But in Mark chapter 14, he tells the story. He says, "It was now 2 days before Passover and the festival of unleavened bread. The leading priests and the teachers of the religious law were looking for an opportunity to capture Jesus secretly and kill him. The plan is in place. But not during the Passover celebration, they agreed, or the people may riot." That plan will obviously change. Meanwhile, Jesus was in Bethany at the home of Simon, a man who previously had leprosy. While he was eating, a woman came in with a beautiful alabaster jar of expensive perfume made from essence of nard. She broke open the jar and poured the perfume over his head. Some of those at the table were indignant. "Why waste such expensive perfume?" they asked. "It could have been sold for a year's wages and the money given to the poor." So they scolded her harshly. And some of the other gospel accounts tell us that Judas was the ringleader in this scolding of this woman. But Jesus replied, "Leave her alone. Why criticize her for doing such a good thing to me? You will always have the poor among you, and you can help them whenever you want to, but you will not always have me. She has done what she could and has anointed my body for burial ahead of time. I tell you the truth. Wherever the good news is preached throughout the world, this woman's deed will be remembered and discussed." And the fact that we're talking about this woman's deeds here this morning on Holy Wednesday is proof that what Jesus said is true. And when you look at this scene, it's a typical thing when you think about things that we do for Jesus. The first thing I want you to know is that nothing that you do for Jesus is ever wasted. But some people will often see it that way. The world looks at the things that we sometimes do for Jesus and think they're crazy. Why would you quit a full-time job and go into full-time ministry? Why would you give a portion of your income every month, every week to God and to his church and to the work that he's doing around the world? Why would you go on a mission trip, take your vacation time and your resources and go on a trip? Why would you take a jar of alabaster and waste it on Jesus? And the world looks at this kind of scenario. And even sometimes those in the church look at something like that and think it's a waste. But this woman, and I want you to think about this, was not concerned about what anybody else thought about her. She was not concerned about how what she was doing would advance her career. She was not concerned about the earthly return on her investment. And it's not that it's bad to think about your career or investments, but it can't be the only thing we think about. And when we're doing something for God, like this woman was doing, when we're doing something for Jesus, very often people are going to look at us and we can't be worried about what they think. And people are going to look and say, that, how is that doing anything positively for her? Well, we can't think that way. And people will say, well, you're not going to get a very good return on that investment. You can't think that way. We need to think like this woman thought. She was more concerned about what Jesus thought about her than what other people thought about her. She was more concerned about what this was going to do eternally for him than what it was going to do temporarily for her. And she was more concerned about the eternal investment that she was making instead of the worldly return on her investment. And we need to have that same sort of attitude. So I want to encourage you this morning to spend some time with God and ask him some very simple questions. How can you be more like this woman in your everyday life? Not worried about what people are thinking, not worried about how something you're doing is going to advance your career or get you ahead in the world, or even worried about the return on the investment. What is God asking you to do that is very simply going to please Him, going to build His kingdom, and is an investment in something eternal? Ask God what that is for you this morning, and then commit to doing that very same thing. God bless you. Have a great time with God this morning, and we'll see you tomorrow.